I walk in the present, uncertain of my future, reminiscing of the past, towards the unknown. Like Veltz's sensing death, my thoughts swarm me. Ignoring them I try to, yet it is not very effective. Afraid of them I start to be and seek shelter on a plain field with no corner to hide. They know I cannot resist them. They're offensive, they initiate. Viciously they pierce through me. I bleed, I ache, and I ask, for what? For what am I doing this? For what do I take this journey? Kalispera. Good evening, buenas tardes, dobry wieczór. And a lovely 2025 to you all. Welcome back to After the Dragon, a non-predetermined tale of navigating life changes after I, your host and patient Zero Mihalis, started a journey towards the unknown, hoping to be freed from past shackles. A tale of a human, for other humans, wishing to inspire others going through hardships to push on, and to discuss questions and ideas to accompany you along this hard-fought journey. So let us begin. Have you noticed that we usually seem to have problems? And I do not even consider right now the big ones. I can just ask you to recall of an annoying coworker or a manager, or a tedious work task, or a friend repeating the same mistake even though you warned them so many times before to act against this. Even minor inconveniences, in the absence of more pressing ones, become dear to us. They act as the spice that burns us pleasurably. These easier ones we can survive, of course. We trust ourselves to work on a solution, and even if such confidence is fake, like an untested facade, nuisances of the like won't have the force required to break it. Until we face the ones that humble us. Until we face our fall. Have you ever considered that cold rock bottom? The situation where your worst fears wouldn't be mere fears anymore, but a reality. For each of us, that hell would look different. Could it be stemming from a lost relationship, failed career, a serious illness, financial catastrophe, or a tragic death? Consider them, if you dare. Bring them here in front of you. Muster all the courage you may have to face them, to acknowledge them, to know your enemies. Or you can choose to avoid them and remain a human. We people, talented camels we are in doing so, avoiding, numbing, gaslighting our idol in the mirror, like how I spent my last August, for example. I carried on with my summer holidays as if I hadn't broken up and departed Poland to an unknown future. I tried to shut these worries down in the back of my mind, reconnecting with my friends, traveling, going to random events, hoping to rediscover life. Like how you do when you are impatient, like me, and you watch Netflix and you constantly press the 10 plus seconds button. I hope I'm not the only one, but yeah, I was trying to do the same with my life, and shockingly, it was not working. Something was chipping me away day by day, and my solution to this? I kept pushing harder, hoping to avoid the confrontation. Until that one event on a random Sunday evening, and an eventful coincidence, it was all it took to bring in thoughts of inadequacy reminiscing of my past. They plagued me for hours and I couldn't shake them off, no matter how hard I tried this time. And in a last-ditch attempt to muffle them, I woke up the next day and headed to the gym. I loaded the bench press for the first time after months of not doing the exercise, and I did it because I was looking for something, anything, for my brain to shut up. A last dance against the vile invader. And after finishing the sets, while I was unloading the bars, while I was lost in fighting myself, the bar tilted, left its log that was loosely placed, and landed on another person's face. The bar thankfully had missed his eye for mere centimeters, hitting him slightly above his eyebrow. The person survived with minor injuries, but my ego did not. My guilt consumed me. One thing it was to torture myself, but to do that to others was too much to bear. My fall may have been in the works for months, like a convict waiting for his punishment. That specific moment, though, became my execution. The last few weeks have been some of my darkest. Some of them spent in Thessaloniki, others in Athens, where the first 2 episodes took place, but I found myself in Eani, from all the places, in a very small Greek village close to Kozani, and here I reflected, and I connected the pieces of my demise, and I got reconnected with a book I read some time ago, Albert Camus The Fall. The existentialist last complete novel is fascinating, so I won't spoil it. This is not going to be a book review of any sort. Instead, I want to use it as a starting point for the topic of this episode alone. For an introduction, Jean-Baptiste Clamence, the book's narrator and main protagonist, was a highly successful person for most of his life. Top-performing lawyer who defended the most charitable-looking cases by choice, a high-class gentleman living the perfect life in Paris. And he felt special. On top of his world, a kind, virtuous man. Why wouldn't he, when everything's going well for him? Well, that's the thing. Everything was going well for him until they were not. You see, Camus Clamence, he's not just a character, he's a mirror, reflecting our own pretenses. What he was doing all along was putting on a socially acceptable performance. As the book puts it, after Jean-Baptiste helped a blind man cross the street, he tipped his hat towards him. I can leave you to decide why this is ironic. The show must go on, I guess, even if the audience can't even see it. Freddie Mercury would understand most probably. Once the cracks began to surface, he began to realize how spineless he was. He truly held no values of his own, rather he was just using the ones most applicable to its setting. He was but a talented chameleon of norms and customs, playing life on easy difficulty. And I'm going to make a parenthesis here because there is a famous scientific finding that's very relevant to this and highly poetic in a sense. The trees of Biosphere 2. And yes, we're gonna talk about trees, but give me a second. Biosphere 2 was a project aiming to create artificially perfect living conditions for plants, animals, and humans. This project faced a very peculiar issue. After a specific height, the trees, as they were growing, before they even reached adolescence, they were just falling down. It took some time, but the scientists figured out why. The reason was that the trees had the too perfect of an environment. Normally, when you cut through a tree's bark, you see its rings. In the wild, these trees grow irregularly, depending on the environmental conditions and specifically the wind tormenting them. Yet within the facility, the trees didn't face any issues. They grew perfectly round circles, beautiful, maybe, but useless in helping them to stand. Without life stress, the trees never stood a chance. Badams. So, while Jean-Baptiste's life was a constant stream of success and enjoyment, when faced with minor inconveniences similarly to the trees, he crumbled. And instead of facing the facts, instead of putting in the work to bring change, he tried his best to avoid this responsibility in all sorts of ways imaginable. But I won't refer to them. His distractions are his. He is but a fictional character, and I refuse to point a finger at him, as he would definitely do if he truly existed. So how about yours instead, dear listener? How about all the ways you use to avoid your responsibility? Last episode we discussed bad faiths. As a reminder, bad faith is the act of lying to oneself to escape responsibility, and many of our bad faiths can play the role of such mental or even physical sometimes drugs indeed, yet they ain't the only ones. And at the end of the day, all of them may not even work, because life hardships can still hit you harder, as they've hit me, as they've hit anyone else, and they will strip you down from your defenses, and they will make you suffer. And it's fine. It's more than fine. It's a blessing. Shall you be willing to face your dragon and not avoid it? Shall you be wishing to not stay a camel and become a lion? The following is an actual Nietzsche quote, probably winning the award of the worst wishes ever conceived. To those human beings who are of any concern to me, I wish suffering, desolation, sickness, ill treatment, indignities. He would have been fantastic in parties, but there is a very clear reason why he said what he said. He finished such a quote by saying, I wish them the only thing that can prove today whether one is worth anything or not, that one endures. Because there is a possibility, yes, that everything in life will fall into place for you perfectly fine. Yet, that would have been one of the most tragic things that can happen to you. Thank you for reaching the end of the third episode. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, a review, or recommend it to your loved ones. As the podcast is in its early stages, this is a massive help for me. And for any comments or feedback, feel free to reach out on the show's social media. We return to the bi-weekly format, so the next episode is on January 23rd. See you all there.